Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
We're back.
So, guys, this picture right here is one that feels very well important.
Yeah, I mean, this might be something that we're going to be seeing sort of literally.
Yeah, the fraying of the United States. More than the fraying, everything is going to change. Now, we've been saying this for a long time, and actually, I've made videos going back to 2017 saying what I've seen in visions. And, now that Cindy and I are together, it comes through much clearer, which is wonderful. Like I could feel the guides knocking, but I don't always get like immediate results like Cindy does. So, there's been a lot of different timeline possibilities, and this is what we're going to give you right now is the most likely timeline on the current trajectory, which seems to be starting to solidify.
Well, yeah, I mean, it feels like this is something that they want to actually see happen.
Well, it's something that kind of has to happen when you get down to it. And so this was a one that I felt was super important. And of course, you can see the blurry screen because it was super important. They let us know that. And this was a message that we got about bracing yourselves for what's coming. And I put down order of presidential succession as well because I was, getting messages. We were both getting messages that, things are really going to get kind of topsy-turvy, crazy, even crazier than 2020 has been so far. 2020 is going to end with a bang. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it is going to be something surprising.
Yeah. And so, here we were just talking about it, and this is from August 6th. August 6th, we were live streaming and talking about these things. And just some of the things about how the changes
for us that are living here in the U.S.
are going to be incredible.
A lot of people may not be aware of the line of succession. How does power go? Well, most people know, something happens to the president, then it's the VP. And something happens to both of them, then it goes to the Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, and then it rolls on down. Right here, this is from Fox News. Now, here's the current line of succession.
And so we talked about, the possibility of great changes going on and that, things are going to get crazy here in the U.S. Crazy. And Cindy saw that it was going to appear that the president was gone. And she didn't know if it was like he was sick and gone or if he was just going to be gone from the public eye, but that he wasn't really gone.
Right. He wasn't really gone. We would see him come back. So.
And, we did this one on the 22nd talking about, critical energy update, because really what it's all about is the ascension process and the awakening process, and the fact that there's no way, things could be hidden in the future because of the changes going on in humanity. And here we also talked about the changing of the guard, December 17th through 21st. This was on October 19th. So, what we got now is messages, pretty clear messages to hang on. Mm-hmm. Again, keep your vibes high. Be ready for anything. Be ready to, like the government said, 6 months on your own. Can you handle 6 months on your own? Because in some areas, well, there will be craziness everywhere. Some areas much more than others. And we've seen that already with everything going on. We've seen some places like Seattle and Portland and some others that have had horrible riots and horrible protests going on that took such a bad turn. We're going to see a lot more of the like on a much larger scale, because what we're getting now is that, as we were saying some critical dates. We're going to be November 30th. Which is the eclipse. And you could see already things are being revealed.
Well, tremendous change to things being revealed. And things might get to the point where people are just kind of in shock at what they find.
Yeah, and so the next critical date was now the 30th is the lunar eclipse, and then there's the solar eclipse on the 14th. And then we also have that midway point between the two big eclipses. The X marks the spot that we have talked about so many times, and that's around the 10th. So there's all these energies, and then you got the whole political process, where things have to be verified and submitted by the 14th, so that an inauguration will actually happen on the timeline that they usually do it at. They want it to happen at. So, what's happening now is things are being revealed. There's going to be more and more things revealed. It's going to be absolutely shocking.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing, is people kind of in disbelief at the White House, having to question their own belief systems and kind of rewire their brain, really.
Yeah, and we saw, a tweet today from, let me see if I could, I don't want to bring it up on the screen that we're using because, there's good reasons why not to in this world that we have going on right now of obvious censorship. It's beyond. And so, we know about all the legislation going on and all the lawsuits, going on, and things are going up. They're getting ratcheted up, and we have statements. Okay, so the president today said that the president-elect can only enter the Casa Blanca as El Presidente if he can prove that the votes were legit. And so that's a massive statement. That's a massive statement. And, this is what we've been kind of getting the whole time and what we've been talking about. Because what we're getting now is that, the United States, as it's been with the 50 states, and here we're seeing 48, we're not looking at Alaska and Hawaii, but, this appears that, we are in the last days of this country as it is.
Well, it very well could be. I mean, that's what it feels like. Also, when you get channeled information, it's very hard to put timelines on it. So I kind of put a timeline on it about how hard they press the information into me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, again, we were talking about in the last video how, sound and frequency and vibrations, and when you are getting the information, you're literally getting the information over your entire body. In the form of a frequency, and then it's deciphered. And of course, there are multiple timelines still possible. There's still things that could come out of left field. But what we were getting was that, there will not necessarily be an easy and orderly transition.
No, it's not. Not at all. It's just going to crack everything up even more. There's going to be more problems, but in a way, what I was getting from the Galactics is that they do want things split up in a certain way for the future of America and for the chaos to be as minimal as possible, because what needs to happen is everything needs to be dissolved anyway. And the way that they are showing me that the United States is going to be separated is how they want things to be, I feel.
And so, Cindy just kind of drew on the map what she was getting the impression of. Now, I'm just asking her this question for the first time, too. Did you see Washington being in this group or being in that group?
Washington's in this group that's to the left with California, Oregon. So part of Washington is, sorry.
Okay, just so part of it is. Not the entirety.
No, not the entire state.
Okay, so you feel this is what you got.
Yeah, and it's also difficult to say because they were showing me this with the states dissolved.
So, what she was getting at was what we were kind of alluding to in a previous video, talking about how even within a state, when we look at how states vote, they don't vote as a unit. I mean, we look at it as a unit. They call the election, they call this state for that particular candidate. But, and I'll bring it up, if we look at, let's see, what would be a good one? Well, let's look at Washington State and see what it comes out to.
That'll be curious to see. It'll really be curious to see how everything pans out, because there's never a for sure. But we can get good, decent information and possibilities.
So, like, that was 20, shoot, let's go 2020, see if they have it up there, hopefully. The point is that, even when you look at a state, and they might call a state for a particular candidate, but it's not that the entire state is red or blue. That's kind of the bottom line. When you look at the voting by each county and everything. So what Cindy's getting to, and let's see if I do a different year. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, like if you look at it, where they show, some counties might have all the population, right? But they're actually blue, and that's what we usually see, is the big cities tend to vote blue, and the countrysides tend to vote red. Typically, it depends on what state you're in. So what she was seeing was, again, it's like the states themselves no longer existed. There's just different regions.
Exactly, different regions, no states.
So, and the timeline for this again is in the future, but she was feeling that it was coming pretty soon.
Yeah, the way they pressed the information into me felt like firm. So to me, that's saying relatively soon. Absolutely.
Like in the upcoming year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah, things are going to change rapidly, and she did feel that a lot of this had to do with, and I'm trying to use words really, really carefully here. When something is not your will.
Oh, yeah.
If you know what I mean. And when, we are made to do something we perhaps don't want to do, or don't want to have put within us, so to speak. If you guys could get where I'm going, we know what letter the word starts with. And it's the same letter that stands for victory. If you could get what I mean, as I'm trying to avoid any triggers. So that's going to have a lot to do with what happens here as well. Because, there is going to be a push for that in certain areas, and, forcefully. And so, what she was getting was that you felt that the more freer section was in the middle.
Right. The more freer section in the middle. The other ends of it, there were still going to be loopholes and walkarounds, but not as easy.
So just to be aware of what we're getting and what we're seeing. So as we had said before, and as we've been putting in the videos, in these different messages, like this one, again, brace yourselves. And brace yourselves is right, because she said people are going to be walking around in a stupor in like 2 weeks or so, which again is going to coincide with that timeline where everything has to be finalized, so that big day in January, that big pomp and circumstance, is allowed to move forward at the pace that is usually, prescribed, or that they have prescribed. But it's not going to go down that way, is what it's looking like right now on this timeline.
Well, yeah, I mean, people's belief systems are really, really, they're really going to have to question them soon.
Yeah. So when you take, for instance, as we were talking about yesterday, we were talking about growing up in this naivete, being very naive and just saying, well, I'm proud to be an American. I live in the only, truest, freest country in the world. And, that whole mindset like we could almost do no wrong, which started to break down with the Vietnam War. Well, when we realize is that it was all an illusion, a complete illusion the whole time, it's going to really shake a lot of people's belief system.
It is, so all the people that we are around, even our family members that we love so much, their belief systems are going to get cracked. They're going to have to look at certain things.
And you saw that. You were seeing people like arguing amongst themselves, even in family units and stuff.
Definitely. Even in the same party, I was looking in the White House inside of Washington, and there was people that were once quite friendly with each other, finding information out and then becoming enemies because they couldn't imagine such a thing.
Yeah, a house divided cannot stand, and this house has been extremely divided, and what's going to come is even more division, because you're going to have, basically, it sounds like we're looking at a situation where both sides are going to say, they're going to claim that V for victory, and neither side is going to relent.
Exactly, it's going to get messy.
Yeah, that's a hang on tight scenario for sure. So, just to bring what she saw, the split, and again, this is the projected timeline that we're seeing now. And for a while, things have been really obscured as Cindy's was trying to get info, and the Draconian energies of this world were doing their best to block and to kind of cloak the situation as best as they can. But this is apparently what we're kind of seeing now, is that there's going to be more like different regions. And so, I know a lot of people will be like thinking automatically, well, I wonder if that's going to be this. And this didn't look exactly right to what it was split, because we all know about FEMA. And it doesn't mean that there might not be, certain states of emergency declared, because that looks likely.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But it didn't seem like it was going to break down into the 10 regions that we know of.
Exactly. Yep.
So we wanted to share this with you guys. And, again, this is what the timeline looks like now. And, things can change, but it does feel like we're on this course for the breakup, and, even the states themselves perhaps will break up.
Well, it's very necessary to move forward.
Well, yeah, because control is easier when there's one unified command. And so many people, of course, have been afraid forever of a one world, control system, let's say that. And this makes it much more difficult when things are broken up into smaller pieces. And we've been talking about how, we're going to end up kind of becoming tribal again in so many ways. Things are going to be broken up into much, much smaller units, which again is going to make it much more difficult to control the situation. So obviously it kind of has to happen, because the system has to, go. The system of control that we find ourselves in is one that is just obviously becoming more totalitarian every single day.
Well, yeah, the totalitarian tiptoe.
Yes. So we wanted to share this info with you guys. And so, again, prepare as best as you can. And in whatever way you can for your family, your loved ones, yourselves. And again, the message that came through loud and clear is that, the biggest preparations, there's obvious ones, have food, water, medicine, supplies, all the things you need like that, and a plan and working together with friends and family. But, the spiritual side of things is the most important. It's keeping the vibrations high. And so I know there'll be criticisms from people saying that this is fear-mongering, and this is our purpose. This is why we're here. We're here to help people deal with these times, prepare for these times, and make it through these times. So if we don't, give you guys the info, the knowledge that we're getting, the information we're getting, then we're not doing our purpose.
Exactly. And it's just so important for people to know how to go within and get centered, because life is very difficult right now for working parents or even parents that are home because of illnesses. It's just so difficult to find your center. And when that's the most important thing you need to do right now.
And it is true that we create, we are co-creators in this reality. But at the same time, because there will be people that will say, well, this isn't going to happen in my world. Well, I mean, did the Vietnam War happen? Did World War II happen? Yeah, they obviously happened. Was there a war over in Iraq? Is there still a war going on in Afghanistan? Or in your world, did those things not happen and you're not aware of them? Yeah. It's one thing to hold up the highest vibe and the highest purpose for things, but it's another thing to recognize that there's other beings out there manipulating and manufacturing our collective reality as well. So again, we can control our own response to things. We can choose to not fall into the chaos, to not react in a negative way, in a harmful way. But at the same time, do things happen? Yeah, they happen. In a perfect world, you wouldn't have accidents. You wouldn't have car crashes, plane crashes, things like that. You wouldn't have hurricanes. Do we have like a record hurricane year, or in your world, was there no hurricanes? So some people will just, stick their head in the sand and say, oh, that didn't happen. But did, so again, it's all about preparations. And of course, send your prayers and intentions out for as peaceful a transition as possible, and for the world to, wake up and, come together as one. But we don't want to come together as one under order, which is trying to make us all into zombies. And without any free will. We need our free will. We are creatures that are supposed to have free will.
That's right. We do our best, and we are at our absolute peak when we're using our own free will.
And this is what it's all about. It's about reclaiming our free will and changing the planet in a positive direction, one that's going to be in harmony with nature and with Mother Earth and everyone else and all the creatures on it.
And that's not an easy task, so there's going to be challenges.
Most definitely. And again, don't fall into the anger. That's where we need a little bit of Buddhist detachment at the same time. And there's different ways to do things, and obviously it can be a fine line between resisting and becoming part of the problem too. A
very fine line.
Yeah, so that's where we have to get in touch with, the higher self, the highest realms, touch with source, God, whatever terms you use.
Exactly, yeah.
As eventually, this is going to change and it's going to transform.
Eventually, thank goodness, and it'll be for the better. That's what we have to keep in our mind.
Yes. So guys, as always, thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Stay prepared out there. Stay positive. God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.